Hello again. So our last video cut off. Oh, the camera's right there. Hello there. I can see you. I'm just looking at myself in the camera here. So our last video cut off prematurely. So we'll pick up from where we left off. And my sister was just asking me about how I saw my younger siblings. So I'm the oldest of 6 kids. There is me and then my 2 brothers who are closer to me in age, and then there's a huge gap when we moved to Canada, and then my younger sister who is interviewing me, Tigist, graciously, thank you, and the younger 2 that came after her. So the younger 3 is the ones that she's referencing when she's saying I saw them as my second chance. So I want to ask the question again.
Which question?
So it was like I saw the younger 3, you younger 3 as my second chance, and you're saying you appreciated that. In reference to the older ones. I was just saying something along the lines where I did see that you guys were my second chance subconsciously, because I burned bridges with my the ones who are closer to me in age. I burned bridges with them because I'd really discouraged them from getting close, even though they desired to be as close as they could and look up to me for a significant part of my growing up. And so by the time that you guys came along, the older 2, the ones closer to me in age, they had no interest in my interest in them now, because I was like, oh crap, I missed my window of opportunity. And so you guys were fantastic second chance, right?
I think we appreciated, the care that you had for us.
Thank you.
And in case it was cut off, you did a lot, such as, reading like chapters and chapters to us from our favorite stories. I remember being like, one more chapter.
Do you remember our baby sister Kiddis's favorite movie that we had to watch over and over and over again? Bug's Life.
Oh
my goodness.
So
great movie, but but when you're watching it for the 20th time, because she insisted that's what we had to watch, it was like, okay.
It was an okay movie though. They did a good job.
Yeah. Many good memories though.
Yeah.
Walking to and from school.
Yes. You carried our backpacks up the
did,
hill every day.
Yeah.
Like not just my backpack, but our youngers.
Through.
Yeah, too. And then we walked with our friends, and I think they asked you to carry theirs too.
You know the way I thought about it, Tigist, was this. I was thinking, whereas our 2 other brothers were looking forward to gaining their independence once they, were of age to move away from home, and they totally loved doing that.
Yeah.
I was thinking I wanted to stay close to home as long as possible, because that's where you guys were.
Yes.
So I wanted to do my my undergraduates close to home in our town that we're in our city. And so that was really important for me to try and see how I could stay home as long as I could, so I could be a part of your guys. And a huge part of why I wanted to stay close to you guys wasn't only because I enjoyed your company, but also because I think I understood the challenge of what it's like to grow up in our home. So our home, the challenge I think for us, and that I saw for you guys was, and I'd gone through this, was growing up in 2 different cultures.
Yeah.
So there was a Canadian culture outside of our home that had a lot of influence on us, but then there was our Ethiopian culture back at home. And Mom and Dad, I don't think really ever transitioned from the Ethiopian culture, right? No. So with 2 different cultures, I know my experience had been so confusing of trying to find out what my identity was. Am I this or am I this? There's just 2 pressures on both sides, right? And so one of the things I was thinking about you guys and your experience, having been born here, was that challenge that was before you. And I think one of my big goals in staying home close to you guys and developing a good relationship was, how can I help you navigate through that confusion, and how can I be like a voice that can say I've been there, and so how can I help you process that? So that was a significant part for me.
Definitely, it's definitely not easy.
No,
cultures,
no, it isn't.
Because Mom and Dad were very proud Ethiopians and very unwilling to
shift or
absolutely. Like even now, I feel like they're still,
stuck in those molds.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing, I think we'd probably say they did the best they could.
They could.
They did the best they could.
Yeah.
And I talked to a lot of immigrant parents today who are saying the same thing. Like they really value their culture, they want to keep that. But the way I want to just give them a heads up is, the effect or the influence of this culture is going to be heavier, and so just choosing your battles.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like non-negotiable. Yeah.
Definitely. It's. I mean, Mom and Dad were very strict, but you have to act a certain way when you're at home.
Yep.
Or else, the punishment.
Yes. Yeah.
But at the same time, trying to find friends.
Yeah.
And you have to know how to socialize.
Totally.
In an acceptable way, or else you're shunned from, society pretty much. So it's very
challenging
balance.
It is.
Land.
And confusing.
Very.
Extremely confusing, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. Yeah. But then we were going to talk about Christianity because our house was, very Christian.
Yes.
And how was that for you? I do want to ask.
Yes.
Were you always very Christian, would you say? Or was there a point where you're like, because you were very Christian at one point, not to make this super religious.
That's okay.
But it was a big part of you, I feel like.
Absolutely, yeah. So, yes, we grew up in a very Christian home. The question again was I always that Christian?
Yes. Or what's solidified that for you?
I think what solidified that, there was a period, maybe of 15, 16-ish? Mm-hmm. 14, 15, 16, in that age range, where all of a sudden it was an epiphany for me, where I was like, crap, I can actually think for myself. I don't have to agree with mom and dad. Mm-hmm. I can have my own perspectives. I don't have to follow whatever it is they're teaching. So now that was a huge sort of threshold in which I had before me to think, do I believe what I've been taught all along right now? Because I could totally continue on that trajectory if I believe it, or I can choose something totally different. Yeah. So that was a huge sort of like, whoa, I can choose kind of thing. And I think for me, I was like, based on what I've experienced so far, I think I believe it. So believe Christianity, yeah.
What was it that made you
believe it?
Yeah.
I think it's because I really didn't have anything else to compare it with.
Okay.
This is all I'd ever known.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is all I'd ever known. It made sense to me.
Yeah.
Right. And the ideals that it espoused. Mm-hmm. I'm driven a lot by ideals. Yeah. Meaning, if there's an idea of how things could be, I'll try and understand that idea, and then I'll try to live it practically. Yeah. To see if it really works. So I believed in the idea that Christianity was espousing by way of how to look at the world and life and where we came from and where we're going and all that sort of. It provided a good narrative or story for me. Okay. So that's why I was like, I think I believe it. I don't know very much about anything else to be able to make that kind of a decision that says, hey, this is a better story or not kind of thing. Right. So that's kind of what sent me in a more committed form, thinking this is my own decision, that I wanted to pursue this for myself personally, conviction-wise. And on top of that, I'd also say going down that track, it was also the validation. Yeah. So I was already a goody two-shoes, not in a really annoying way, but like in a way that people were like just believing in the presentation of innocence that I portrayed. Right. So even though I had my whole secret life that no one knew about, of stuff that I feared if they ever knew about, I would be a write-off, that was neatly tucked away, and I was always able to be on point, and people were able to say, wow, he's just the poster boy of what it looks like to be a Christian guy. For example, right? So I got a lot of affirmation, I got a lot of love, I got a lot of good reputation and support from people that continue to cement my commitment to trying to live this portrayal of what it looked like to be a Christian. So there was that as well. Yes.
Yeah. And what were those things you were trying to hide?
So this was, so in the Christian community, there are some topics, some themes that are taboo, meaning we just haven't had a culture in the Christian climate to know how to talk about these things. Yeah. For me, specifically, it was the area of sexuality. Okay, so I'm thinking about my first sex talk ever, and it was Dad having an attempt. Now, back then, again, I just want to give kudos to our parents because they were doing the best that they could, So Dad doing the best that he could. Back then, I think that generation would say, we're going to have the talk, and it's just a one-time thing where, they take you and talk about the birds and bees or that kind of thing. Right. For me and my brothers, it was more like Dad taking us with a biology textbook and saying, here's what happens when this happens and this happens. And we had no idea what was going on. All we could see was this technical book, with diagrams of like the blood vessel system and translucent pages, and we're like, okay, we have no idea what's going on. But okay, great talk kind of thing, right? And that was it. And that was as far as that conversation went. In the Christian church at that time when I was that young, this was a conversation that was really awkward. Yeah. They didn't have the atmosphere or the environment to be actually talking about this in an open way and in a healthy way. It was one of those things that was, don't talk about sex, it's bad, kind of thing. Only save it for marriage, Yeah. I like how one of my authors that I really enjoy says that they say, Don't have sex is dirty. Save it for the one you love.
Sorry, say that again.
Don't have sex. Yeah. Save it for the one you love. Sorry, don't have sex. It's a dirty subject. Save it for the one you love, kind of thing. Okay. So it's kind of like taboo, bad. Yeah. Save that bad thing for the one that you love. Oh. However, that makes sense, right? Yeah. It's kind of like, but that's how we kind of grew up, right? Yeah. I remember one of the bands we listened to, DC Talk. They had,
is this a Christian band?
This is a Christian band, okay. DC Talk. Oh my goodness, I'm dating myself. Anyway, but it was just that huge push for chastity. Yeah. So the sexual conversation just went by, don't have it, period. No questions asked. Yeah. Save yourself for marriage, keep your virginity. That's what it was. Yeah. So this is such a huge thing that was a vacuum in the church, I would say. Mm-hmm. And so we were always kind of nervous about talking about it, and so we kind of avoided it. Yeah. But I think like most who are in the church, I would say like most who are in the church, because it's a really big struggle. Yeah. I came across my first pornographic softcore magazine quite by accident when I was walking on some trails in a small town we lived in.
In the trail, like in the woods?
Yeah, like out on the trail, like in the small park there.
That's hilarious.
I know, that's how I came across it. It was just kind of stashed. I'm like, oh, what's this? Oh, check this out, kind of thing. And it did two things for me. One, it excited me. I was like, crap, I've never seen this before. This is like so thrilling and exciting. But then secondly, with a double whammy of equal force was that sense of shame, that feeling of shame that was like, I shouldn't be looking at this. This is so intriguing and interesting though, but how can I look away? I can't. I've seen this now, So it was that growing sense of excitement when I was trying to understand this thing that I wasn't supposed to be looking at or talking about, with this heavy theme of shame that was informed by the culture and the community that I lived in. Yeah. To say, I can't talk to anyone about this. I have questions, but there's no one that I feel safe talking to about this because we just don't talk about this. Right. And so this is a secret part of my struggle, that I was fearful that if anyone ever found out about what was really going on, I would be written off. I would be written off as you're untouchable. You lose all that credibility that you've been working towards. So this is like that secret part that for me was the part that I hope no one would ever find out. And I wish I could say, like, my desire at the time was, how can I just put this away where no one will ever know about it, or where I probably wouldn't even be able to see it, right? Yeah. But I couldn't. I kept on looking and indulging and consuming, and I was really careful to make sure no one would ever find out. So I kept it very, compartmentalized from the rest of my life, because I had an image to keep as a poster boy child, right? But that began a season of, I'd say that was like 13, 14, 15 when that happened, all the way till like my later 20s. My later 20s, that I kept this secret, wishing that there was someone I could talk to, wishing that there was someone that I could hear from, that I wasn't weird, that I wasn't messed up, right? But I definitely grew up with a sense of feeling messed up and weird. And then what that did additionally was, it also made me very cynical about myself, meaning even though everyone was giving me the world, inside the church and outside the church, I had fantastic connections. I was socially gifted. I was able to connect with people in a really meaningful way. And they really gave me the world. They really gave me their hearts. They gave me their trust. They gave me their respect. They gave me like just a really good reputation, right? But as they were saying, you're the best thing that's ever happened, you're an amazing individual, and so on, I couldn't believe it, because I was thinking internally, if you only knew how messed up I am inside because of my indulgence in this thing that I hope that no one will ever find out. Yeah. That was, a significant part of that struggle.
Was there ever a time where you almost got found out in those early times?
Definitely, quite a few times. Absolutely, quite a few close calls, for sure. Yes. Because for me, because I couldn't talk about it, because I couldn't express it, because I couldn't interact with others about my interest, it sent it into secrecy, which meant it became more of an addiction, if I can describe it that way. An addiction where I was like, I need to understand this more and more, but I don't have someone to help me, guide me through what this is all about and what it is, and how to engage it in a way that has integrity, in a way that I'm being transparent with myself. So I definitely took a lot of close calls, whether I was acting out by masturbating, or in places that were risky, like public bathrooms, for example, to just even like not frequenting, but sneaking into like adult stores, like adult sex stores, like under the cover of darkness, thinking, oh man, if I'm ever caught here, I'm done for, kind of thing. So I definitely took risks along the way to indulge and try to figure it out. Right. I didn't get caught, but there were a lot of close calls too. Right. I was living very risky that way. Yeah. And mind you, here's the thing, because this is a very private thing, I never expressed it to anyone, right? This is just me sort of like navigating as best as I could.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
we've never had this kind of
I
conversation,
don't think
have
so.
we?
Not this part, yeah.
This is like all new for you, isn't
yeah,
it?
definitely.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
Yeah, I'm good. So are you.
Thank you.
Did we get your drink there?
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yes.
My vodka.
And then I want to touch on dating because, like that, I think it's kind of a touchy subject with the church as well.
Sure.
And it's very structured in what you can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think was it only one girlfriend that you've had back then? What did that?
Like back when?
In your 20s before you got married?
No, I had no relationships.
Oh, you didn't?
My ex was my first relationship ever.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was significant.
And what was that like? Was that nervous? Because how old were you?
I was 28 when I met her.
See, like that's pretty wild.
I know. Especially given my giftedness with interacting with people, right? And connecting with them in a really meaningful way.
Yeah.
I made some great friends. I had deep friendships. I connected with people super well, both guys and girls.
Let me just say, to
Yes.
get it out of the way,
Sure.
I know I'm not the only one who gets gay vibes sometimes.
Are you? So guys, my sister is one of those who knows me super well, amongst some of my other really close friends, who just because of my personality and the way I express my masculinity, they definitely, what did you guys say? Gaydar, right?
Yes.
So they have said, are you sure you're not in denial? And here's the thing, I have nothing against those who orient themselves as gays and homosexuals, not at all. I have much love. I know I'm definitely not inclined, like I know myself strongly, but I always find it humorous. Huh?
You'd never try it?
I never have had an interest to try it.
No.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, and I've considered.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, by all means. I'm always asking and saying, could this be? But no, I definitely know I'm heterosexual. Definitely know. Even though my mannerisms very much come across as...
Gentler.
As what?
More gentil.
Genteel.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gentle. And here's the thing about my development of my personality that I offer no apologies for. Like when I was a teen, I was at that. There's a point when I came to an observation that most of my peers who are guys would express masculinity by bulking up and getting big muscles and taking on certain masculine ways of communicating. You know, like. But I found a lot of those empty for me, and I didn't want to follow that mold. And so I wanted to pursue something that was really meaningful in helping me get to my destination of connecting with people. And so that's why I was very careful in my cultivation, and I would say I cultivated my personality so that the way I express myself is intentional, right? I don't, like on my lives, for example, they see me often in tears, kind of, and they're like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm totally okay. I just tear up when I'm talking about things that matter a lot to me, or when I'm thinking about the nice things that folks are saying to me. It's just, I'm okay with that expression of my masculinity. I know I'm not like that, good grunt. That's not my way of communicating, right? So I'm not in no way like, thinking, oh, I shouldn't be like this. No nonsense,
I love that you're, good with how you are.
I own it.
Yeah, I like that.
I do
really like that, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
The only reason I bring it up is because I'm asking if the reason that you come off slightly as, more feminine.
Effeminate, yeah.
Is that, do you think that plays into why you waited to date, or?
No, I would say I waited to date. No, I didn't even wait to date. I would have loved to date. I had so many crushes. I had so many serious crushes. I had so many seasons when I was thinking and spending so much time thinking about specific girls along the way. Yeah. Instead of doing homework or like I was like most guys. The only thing is I never had the confidence to actually go and ask for a relationship. I never had the confidence. That was a huge thing. Even though I had no anxiety about meeting people and getting to know them on a friendship basis, when it came to considering someone romantically, I had no idea of how this is done. And I wish there were individuals in my life, men, who could have shown me what that looked like, but I didn't have anyone. And so I was deathly afraid of rejection, deathly afraid of rejection. As a friend, you know, I could navigate that, but on a relationship basis, if I were to ask ever, I'd almost think I'm gonna die kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was a significant level of incompetence or lack of confidence in being able to say, how do I actually go about and express an interest in a girl who I'm interested in and take that step? I didn't have anyone to show me how or model how this could look.
Right.
And so that's primarily why I did not have a relationship for my teens and into my 20s, to my latter 20s.
Yeah.
In my 20s, though, mid 20s is when I started doing a lot of specific reading on relationships and what could be. And I started growing in confidence then of, okay, here's how it could be done well.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started putting together my own MO of how to do this. Yeah, but that's why, not because of my effeminate nature.
No.
Not at all. No.
And how was it when you first asked out a girl?
When I first asked, it wasn't my ex, by the way.
No.
No, I know.
Was it? I think I know who it was.
Oh yeah.
Starts with a
L?
Or no?
Do you? I'm not even sure if you know her.
Oh, maybe not. Okay.
Okay. I don't know. Nonetheless, when we're not naming names on here just
Right.
for privacy's sake and all, but there's this. So back in those days, I had this model of dating that I had really calibrated to.
Is it courting? Is it courting?
Courting. It was totally courting. The old-fashioned courting. I was all for this. I was like, this is the way it ought to
your
be.
textbooks that you were reading.
Okay, so where I got these ideas were from books that were written back in the 1800s, 1700s, and
Oh my God!
seriously.
Jane Austen, were you like just...
Okay, that era maybe, yes. But I was reading, I was really into theology at that time, which is the study of God and its church history and so on. And so I was getting a lot of books from this store down in Vancouver. Me and my friends called it the Dead Man's Bookstore because all they sold was like tombs and books of like past generations, like 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, and I was eating these books up because they were giving me the kind of intellectual rigor that I was looking for in theology, which is my main interest of studying. And there was this girl there that was at the bookstore, and I'd already been influenced by a lot of this ideas of how to court. And so courting, basically, for those of you who do not know, it's different from today's form of dating. So today's form of dating, you go ask a girl out, you go on a date. It's changing, I know now. It's totally different, but swiping now, yes. But you go on a date back then and get to know them, and you may engage in a sexual relationship even before you're married, the kind of thing. Courting is where you are asking the girl's dad for permission to see her. You are usually in chaperone context when you're on dates, and you're like really careful not to like put yourself in those kind of scenarios where you could potentially sleep together, which is frowned upon significantly in the Christian community. So so the first girl I was expressing interest in, oh my goodness, here's what happened. I had interest in her, so I wrote a letter to her dad saying, hey, I'm interested in your daughter.
Wait, did you tell her that you were interested?
Not yet. I asked her dad for permission first. So that's how I thought that. It is like old-fashioned. You guys are totally like blown away by all this, but this is my past. So yes, I wrote a letter to her dad saying, hey, listen, I'm interested in your daughter for this purpose. I would love to have your permission to commence seeing her, kind of thing. And he's like, well, it's up to you. Like, it's up to her, really, So like, you should be talking to her. So I asked our dad, to go down for a drive with me at that time.
Down to Vancouver?
Down to Vancouver.
Which is like a 4-hour drive?
Yes, 4-hour drive from where we were living.
Said, yeah?
Yes. I mean, he was like, I'm expressing interest in the girl. He's like, okay, I'll be a part of this, but like, it's no big deal, kind of thing, right?
He couldn't believe it. He had to see it for himself.
Exactly. So we went down for a coffee with this family, and it was kind of awkward. Definitely so. She wrote back later to say, actually, I'm not interested, but thank you anyway. Okay. Mom thought that I would be devastated. She thought, you're going to be devastated, by this. And I was like, honestly, no, because my simplistic thinking was, if she said no, it was God's answer to me. Okay. And I never had invested that much, at the beginning, so I was still kind of clear. So I was trying to convince her, I'm okay, like, I'm not like falling apart in any way. So that was the first one. There's 2 other ones that happened before I met my ex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so 2 other ones that expressed the same kind of interest. And even with my ex, I did the same kind of thing.
Really? Did you all?
I met her first, though.
Oh.
But then after I met her and, we started initiating a relationship is when I wrote her parents saying, hey.
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, and they're like, What's the big deal? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so definitely so.
Yeah, okay, if I was the parents, I'd be like, no. This is weird. This is too weird.
This is antiquated.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I know. This is my. You guys are getting more than you bargained for. Oh my goodness.
And she was down to date, obviously.
Yes, yeah. Actually, she took some time.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, so
Okay.
maybe about our fifth or sixth date, walk in the park kind of thing. I said, so here's what I'm thinking. You know, I'd like to go towards marriage with you, but that's my intention, and so I'd like for you to figure out if you're interested in the same trajectory, because before my heart gets involved, I'd like you to, you know, find out, and then
If she's interested in
if
you,
she's interested in me,
okay.
yeah.
Before you got interested in her.
No, I was already interested.
Oh, you were.
So I had already expressed interest initially.
I see.
And as we continue getting together, my MO was to like say, hey, I'm interested in going towards this destination over here, but it takes two of us to kind of aim for that destination.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know as soon as you can if you're feeling the reciprocation, if you're also feeling the same way. Because if not, let's call it right here so I don't get too emotionally invested.
Okay.
And then that's going to be more painful.
Yes.
That's how it made sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long did it take for her to...
I thought it was like 3 or 4 months, but she says it was more like 6 weeks maybe.
Oh, okay.
Something along those lines.
Okay.
Yeah, it seemed longer for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
You were really in love then.
I was.
It took for a long
I think
time.
it was.
Yeah.
She was my first ever relationship at 28 years old. So that was significant.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I didn't know. We should have thrown you at like a party and stuff.
That's okay. Hindsight. Yeah. Yes.
And how was dating then? It was a courting still?
It was kind of courting, dating, kind of both end.
It didn't change after you guys agreed that that's the direction you wanted to go?
It kind of did. Like, I mean, we weren't having chaperone visits.
Oh.
No. I mean, we'd go with our friends. I know. We'd go with our friends in groups context, and we'd also have time by ourselves as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd just be careful not to get too frisky, you know, so
Yeah.
because we had to keep our Christian commitments that we'd committed ourselves to.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then how long until you guys decided you wanted to get married?
I think it was about a year in when we were having that conversation, and we were saying, yeah. The thing about, so we were aiming, actually we knew that we were aiming for marriage, like at the outset, because that's why we expressed interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when she said, okay, I'm signing up for this destination over here, let's get to know each other to see if this is kind of in the cards, right?
Right.
And then when it came time for me to ask for her hand in marriage, what I had watched, I think especially on movies, was the dynamic where the guy asks and the girl's like, no, what are you thinking, kind of thing, you know? So I do not want that kind of an experience, because usually in those settings it seems like the girl was surprised unexpectedly.
Yeah.
And I didn't want this kind of experience for her.
Okay.
And so I wanted to have the conversation first with her, saying, so here's what I'm thinking. I think we could aim for, like, if I'd like to propose to you, is what I was thinking of saying, but I don't want to do this in a way that's an unpleasant surprise for you. So again, it's kind of like, are you thinking the same thing? Like, do you think this is a good the way you want to go here? Because if you don't think you're ready for this, or if this is not what you're thinking, let's again clarify and communicate about that. Most girls would probably think that takes away the element of surprise and the romances. But honestly, like, the way I was thinking is clarify so that this individual does not have an unpleasant surprise.
Yeah.
But then now the sky's the limit as far as when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen.
Totally.
That's still in your hand, you know.
Yeah.
So I asked her, and she said, yeah, definitely. Let's move towards this destination. So I started planning in my mind what that engagement was going to look like, right?
Yes.
And keep her on her toes, kind of thing. So that's how I understood
I
that.
love that. That's so good.
Thank you.
I hate those on YouTube. You know how you can find
Yeah,
compilations of, like,
publicly especially.
Yeah. Oh.
I know.
So painful.
I know. I'm like, oh, this is like. Sometimes it works, but a lot of times it's like, oh, that kind of went wrong, and everyone feels really terrible, right?
Yeah, even like the promise. I don't know if you've seen, like, in the States they do like this huge like gesture of, will you go to prom with me? And everyone's around, everyone's videotaping it, and so many of them say no, and it's soul crushing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like how you did it, where you let her
Communicated,
know.
yeah.
And there's that anticipation probably on her.
Yeah.
And I think you did try to surprise her,
I
right?
totally surprised her.
Okay.
I had a pseudo surprise first. Should I tell you about that?
Yeah.
Okay. So guys, my engagement went like this.
Okay.
So when we confirmed that we were both heading for marriage and that she was open to saying yes, were I to propose to her, that was at the beginning of summer. That was my last summer tree planting. So all that summer, I was finding hot spots in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the bushes, where I could just get bare cell coverage to call in another down deposit on the ring that I was, I had selected for her, and I selected her ring with her so that I knew what her style was, because I wanted to make sure I had that kind of input. So I knew what kind of ring it was, and it was a significant ring. It was like a huge investment. My plan was to try and do it towards the end of summer because I was leaving that year for where I presently am here in Calgary for grad school. And so I wanted to propose to her before I left for grad school. So that summer, planting trees, I was making my down deposits. At the end of the season, I came back home. I was looking for that opportunity, but it just wasn't coming up. Then an opportunity came up that was way too obvious. And that opportunity was this. I had to move my stuff, my belongings down from BC to Calgary, Alberta, where my school was at. And so I suggested to her, why don't we make this a road trip for the two of us? Let's both go down together. We'll see the sights. We'll do all the fantastic things. Now, this is far too obvious for most people. They're like, yeah, it's going to happen in this trip kind of thing, right? Because I was like pulling out all the stops. What I intentionally did was I left the ring back at home because this was not going to happen. But I was going to fool her and everyone else because they're all expecting. And I don't like surprises that are anticipated because that's not a surprise. So I I went on this trip with her, to bring my stuff over here. We went on a gondola trip in Banff. We ate at fancy restaurants. We went to the Calgary Tower. We did like everything. We came here, like everything possible with every opportunity that it could happen when it could be like the event, right? And I played it up really well, right? And the whole trip there was nothing. And then at the end we went back home. And then as soon as we got back home, it was on the weekend, we went to join our church at a family camp that they were at, a few hours north. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting with her by the lake, in the evening, we're just enjoying the quiet. Actually, no, I should tell you, when we first got there, all the women in the church kind of converged on her. They're like, because they were expecting, so they just kind of converged on her, and they're like grabbing her hand to see the ring, and they're like, oh, it's not there, oh crap, kind of thing.
Is it because she told them, like, oh, maybe?
No, okay. She didn't even tell them, but everyone was anticipating. They knew about our trip. They were expecting that this is like going to happen. Okay. Like this, if anything was going to happen, it was going to happen on this trip like this. So they're like, oh, it didn't happen. And then she was sitting with me by the lake, we're sitting on a bench and just enjoying the quiet. And she confided saying, I honestly thought you were going to do it this time. And I played dumb like, oh, really? What gave you that idea kind of thing, And but in my mind, here's what was really going on. Okay. Time was running out. And the summer is almost over. And I don't like doing rush things. I don't like doing things that are not well prepared. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to pull this engagement off before I had to go for school. So I was trying to think, okay, what shall I do now? I went off to school here to Calgary, and then we would talk often every day kind of thing on the phone. Mm-hmm. And then one time I called her about 2-3 weeks into my program here. Yeah. I called her like I usually do and said, hey, listen, in 2 weekends, I'm coming to visit you. So mark your calendar kind of thing. Okay. And then my next phone call was to the airlines to book my flight for the next weekend. So I told her 2 weekends, and I'm coming in the first weekend early. So this is going to be my surprise. Okay. And I called a few other friends to help me sort of put some parts of my plan into motion. Right. And so I showed up on that next weekend at her door with the help of her friends and totally surprised her. And